Welcome, Middlers, to the Medium in the Middle podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I take you on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual exploration. I am a Reiki master teacher, a spiritual and business mentor, and of course, a psychic medium. And I am here to share my story and help you tap into your extraordinary abilities. Join me every Wednesday as we dive into the realms of intuition, energy healing, and all things mystical. Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just dipping your toes into the magical waters, this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration, guidance, and a whole lot of lessons and laughter along the way. Let's get started. Hello, Middlers. Welcome to episode 294. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle. And today is for all of the developing mediums. We are talking about what do we mean when we say what you get. You've probably heard that tip a lot. Just say what you get, say what you see, say what you hear. And while that seems very obvious, very small changes in the information you are receiving can make a statement that was correct turn incorrect very quickly and easily. So I have 3 examples today I want to share with you about how sharing exactly what you get either went wrong or it went right. A theme that I've been seeing a lot with my clients and my mentees the last few weeks, and especially with newer developing mediums, a lot of the problems that they're having with their practice sitters is not their problem. It's problems with the sitter's understanding. And learning how to navigate how to get the sitter to understand the information is half the job. Receiving the information from spirit is the other half. So today I'm going to share some tips for all the developing mediums out there. When we say what you get, this is what we mean. I'm just going to blast through a few things I have coming up this month. Reiki Level 1 is February 7th and 8th. There's still time to join. Reiki Level 2 this month is February 21st and 22nd. I will leave all the links to Reiki trainings down below, including the March dates, which are also up. And there are 2 mediumship practice circles this month on the 18th and the 28th. So there's a weekday and a weekend. The one on the weekday is a PM circle, so for all the after work people, and then a Saturday morning. As always, all the links you need to work with me are down below in the show notes, and I offer all my services virtually where we meet over Zoom, or you can come work with me in person here in Banff, Alberta. So today's episode was inspired by a conversation I was having with one of my mentees where she received the information correctly, but the way that she said it made it incorrect. And when she was telling me the story, she did it again. So she did a practice reading and then she was telling me about how it went really awful. And I said, okay, tell me what happened. And she was going through it. And when she told me this piece, I was like, you weren't wrong. You just changed it from what you received. What you told me you received and what you told me you told the sitter was 2 different things. And this is the perfect example of when we say what you get, say what you get. So what she saw from spirit, she was talking to a grandpa. The grandpa showed her a swing. So she told me, the grandpa was showing me a swing. So I said to the sitter, did your grandpa used to take you to a park? And did you guys used to go on a swing set? And the sitter said no. And I said, okay, did you see what you did there? You didn't say what spirit told you. You interpreted it as a swing set at a park. Spirit didn't show you a swing set. And he didn't show you a park. He showed you him and a swing. And she said, well, the sitter said no, that it didn't make any sense. And I said, well, of course she said no, because you added those 2 things. Next time, what I want you to do is ask a question. These tips today are all for developing mediums. These are the drills that we practice when we're learning a new skill. This is not what the professionals are doing. But when you're practicing a new skill, we put up some guardrails to make it easier for you. So my feedback was, what I would recommend next time this happens is you say, your grandpa is showing me him and a swing. How does that make sense for you? Why is your grandpa showing me a swing? Does that make sense for you guys? Do you have a memory with a swing? Did he have a swing in his backyard? Is there a relevance to a swing in some way? He's showing me him and he's showing me a swing. I'm not quite sure what he's saying here. So I shared with her that she was not wrong. She just filtered it through her own perspective and added information that was not there from spirit, and that is what made the no. No, we never went to the park. No, there was nothing about a swing set. Yes, there was something about a swing. So through conversation with the sitter, they did figure out what it was, and it was about a swing in his backyard. It wasn't at a park, and it wasn't a swing set. So the sitter was right to say no, but it was a great learning opportunity to say what you get, no interpretation, nothing added. Now, this next example comes from one of my monthly mediumship practice circles. And at the end of the circle, there's time for everyone to share their experiences. And I always encourage people to share things that other new mediums would need to hear. Did they try something new that worked? Did they learn something? Is there anything that they think would be valuable to share with the group for other new mediums to hear from other developing mediums? So this next example was from that portion of the circle where we're all sharing. I had someone raise their hand and they said, you're always being told to just say what you see, to say what you see. And she said, so I said what I saw, and I saw broken glasses. So I said, why is there broken glasses? Now, she said what she saw was broken glasses, glassware, like a broken cup. She saw broken cups, broken glass cups. So she saw broken glasses. The relevance was broken glasses, eyeglasses. Again, spirit is smart. They showed her broken cups, broken glassware to get her to say broken glasses because broken eyewear was what they were trying to talk about, face glasses. And she did the right thing. She just said what she saw. I'm seeing broken glasses. And they figured out it was about broken eyeglasses. And the last story that I want to share about this is one of my own. And this story is years and years old. It was from one of my first group readings. I went over to a friend's house and she had invited 8 or 10 people over, and I was practicing doing a group reading. So I knew some people in the room, but not all of them. And I was reading for one girl. It was her grandpa coming through, and her grandpa was showing me that he bought the same type of car over and over again. So I'm not a car person. I was like, he's showing me a car, and then he buys the exact same car, and then he buys the exact same car, and then he buys the exact same car. She was like, no, my grandpa only drove a truck. And I was like, okay. Again, I said car. And then I was like, okay, well, the message is you just bought this same type of car. Like whatever your grandpa bought over and over and over again, he was trying to say like he sees that you just got the same one. And she was like, no. And all her friends were like, yeah, remember you just got a new car. And then I was like, okay, maybe I need to explain this better. Like, for example, if your grandpa only drove like Ford F-150s, he like bought a Ford F-150 and then he bought a new Ford F-150. And then when he needed a new car, he would buy a new Ford F-150. And then when he needed a new car, he would buy a new Ford F-150. And he's trying to say that you just bought a Ford F-150. And she was like, I still remember this so clearly. She said, no, my grandpa would never buy Ford. He only bought GMC and he only drove Sierras. And I said, did you just buy a Sierra? She was like, yeah. I was like, okay, so did your grandpa always buy Sierras over and over and over again, and now you just bought a Sierra? And she's like, yeah, but you were wrong because you said Ford. And I still remember the girls in the room. They were like trying to be like, hey, you just bought that new car. Like you just said. But I said the word car when it was truck. I gave the example of Ford when her grandpa would never buy Ford. So it's these small little details that can turn a message into a no. And sometimes sitters will say no before you've even finished your sentence. Does the number 36 make sense to you? No. You didn't even think about it. That's why I always recommend that you repeat the information 3 times, or you try to find ways that it fits. Are you sure 36 isn't important? Is it an age? Is it a birthday? Is it a date? Could it be a house number? Where would 36 make sense? Anytime you can ask a question that's not a yes or no, it makes your sitter think. And in practice sessions and as a developing medium, we need to get our sitters to think about the information so they can tell us how it fits so that we can learn how we receive information from spirit. So, what did I learn from that Ford experience? Is that when things like that happen, I specifically say, I know it's probably not a Ford, but I'm just going to use a Ford F-150 as an example. Like if he always bought a Ford F-150, not saying it was that exact car, but if he always bought a Ford F-150 and then he bought another Ford F-150 and then another Ford, not saying it's a Ford, but I'm just using that as an example. Some things we got to learn the hard way and some things you will never forget. So I wanted this episode to be twofold. Number 1, say what you get exactly. Don't add anything. You saw a swing. You did not see a park. You did not see a swing set. So you say, I see a swing. You add nothing. Number 2, it's probably not wrong. You probably just have to figure out where it fits. And that is what a developing medium is doing. You are learning your patterns. You are learning how you receive messages from spirit. You are learning what things mean. You are learning to build your manual. You are learning. You are practicing. These are the times that you figure it out. It's okay if you only get 3 pieces of information in a practice session. You're going to dissect those pieces of information and learn about them and how did they come through and what did they mean. And what will you do next time? And what did you learn from that experience? So I guarantee you, my mentee, she will now just say exactly what she sees because you don't want to risk being wrong. So don't add anything. I see a swing. How does that make sense with your grandpa? There's no swing set. There's no park. There's a swing. So I hope that helps, and I hope that gives you a few good examples of what we mean when we say what you get. Don't interpret, don't add words, don't add brands of cars or trucks, because that's when your thinking brain gets in the way, and that's not messages from spirit. Whatever you get from spirit, you want to deliver it exactly as you get it. So get out there and happy practicing. Try these tips out next time you're doing your practice sessions. I highly recommend you aim for 2 to 3 practice sessions a week. That is how you will start to notice your patterns faster and be able to continue to improve all the different skills that are needed for mediumship. As a reminder, I do have that free Facebook group if you are having trouble finding sitters. It is an open to the public Facebook group that you can join as a sitter or a reader. I will leave those links down below in the show notes as well. Maybe send this to a friend who needs to hear it or another developing medium. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, when I see you in your ears, I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye, everybody.